everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so excited to have you here today. In today's video, we're going to be making your very first HTV project. Now we've picked a pretty simple design because I feel like you want to start with something super easy and simple, and I'll link this design below. We're going to go over every single step of the process. That way you understand exactly how to work with HTV. We're going to go over how to use Design Space, how to put it on your shirt, how to weed it, all of the things that you need to know to make your first HTV project successful. If you have any questions throughout the video, leave them in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. And make sure you're subscribed here, that way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. Let's go ahead and get started. Now you are so excited to do your first HTV or iron-on or heat transfer vinyl project. Those are all the same thing. They're just used kind of interchangeably through different brands. Cricut calls theirs iron-on. Most good brands call them HTV or heat transfer vinyl. Now we're going to be using this Safari Animal SVG bundle. I thought this one was a great one to start with. It should be pretty easy for you to weed. You can pretty much put it on any kind of soft surface, fabric surface that you want to. So I just thought this was a good one. The first thing you'll need to do is to download your files. So you're going to click download free now, and I'll link this down below so you can use the exact same files that we're using. All you have to simply do is click save on this, and then you're going to open up the folder that you just downloaded, which is a zipped or compressed folder, and we'll have to do what's called extracting or unzipping. Now, once you've opened this file, you need to extract it, and you simply do that by clicking extract all and then click extract. Now, I do recommend having show extracted files when complete selected, and simply then click extract. Now it's going to open up the folder that you have just extracted or unzipped, whichever one, it means the same thing. And you're going to see that you have some files in here. Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat, you can just delete these ones, the ones that say like Design Bundles Premium Designs, Design Bundles License, all that. You can just delete all of that. You don't need it. And then you can go into your free Safari Animals folder. Now, one thing I want you to note is that with Cricut Design Space, you are not going to use a DXF, an EPS, or a JPG format design. So I, off the mat, just go ahead and delete these to save myself some space on my computer. I then typically will look in the all files one and just see, because there's really no point. It's just double files of what's already in these folders. So you can delete the all files folder as well. They may not all have that, but if they do, go ahead and delete them. Then I want to use the SVG format, and these are all really well labeled. So you just choose whichever animal you want to do. I'm going to do the hippo with sunglasses. So let's head over to Design Space. I'm going to walk you through every step on how to make your very first HTV project. When you open up your Design Space, you're going to come to this page, and this page is full of stuff that you can use. There's images and all sorts of things, and yours will look different from mine, but you're going to have the same general headings. But what we want to do is choose new project up in the upper right hand corner, and it's going to open up a blank canvas, and this is where you do all of your designing. We're going to focus on this upload option right here. So click upload, and then you're going to click upload images. You'll see down here that you'll have all your recent uploads for you to use, but we want to click on upload image. Now you can drag your file or you can browse for it. So we'll click browse, and what you'll have to do is navigate to the folder that you have it saved in. So I've got it in my first Cricut folder, and then I'm going to sign here with the free Safari Animals. Open that. I'm going to go to my SVG format. Now, you're going to notice that your SVGs might be listed as HTML documents, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Chrome, something like that. That is just because you don't have a vector program selected, so it will open in an internet browser so that you can see your file. But we're going to use hippo with sunglasses, so all we do is select that file. And you'll note that it looks a little bit fuzzy. Don't worry, that's just something in Design Space, but it'll cut fine. It'll look good once you're into your canvas. Now, once you've loaded your image here, because we're using an SVG, you're going to go ahead and click continue. Now here you can change the name, you can add keywords, whatever you want to do. you just add, you know, hippo, zoo, sunglasses, safari. These will just help you find your image later on. If you ever want to use it again, you can search in your uploads and it will search via those tags. And then you can also add it to any of your collections if you want to make one, and then click upload. Once it's uploaded, it's going to show it here in your canvas, and we're going to size this down to fit whatever blank we're going to put this on. I'm just going to put this on a random shirt that I have, but you guys will put it on, you know, whatever you want. So you'll want to measure, and there are lots of tools for like measuring for whatever blank you want to use. I recommend having a ruler and a tape measure available to you to measure your blank. But if you're going to be doing a t-shirt, I'm going to link below the t-shirt measuring guide that I use. I'm going to put this on an adult large, so I don't want this any larger than about, at most, 10 inches high, usually no wider than about 9.5. So this is a good size at 8.5 by about 10. Now you can size this if you want it to be exact. Up here at the very top, you can use the width and the height to change these. So if I wanted exactly 10 inches high, I can do that. Now when working with HTV, it is extremely important that you mirror your design. Now with a design like this, it doesn't matter. It's going to look exactly the same regardless of which way you do it. But especially if you have words or an image that needs to face a certain direction, you want to make sure you mirror your image. Cricut Design Space will actually do it for you if you choose a cut setting that is related to iron-on or HTV, which we will be doing. So from here, we're going to save our project. I'm going to save it as Hippo HTV, just so I know what I'm using it for, and I'm going to click Save. I highly recommend saving your projects before you hit Make. That way you don't have to worry about anything happening with them. They're going to be good to go. Then I'm simply going to click Make, and it's going to bring up the mat that it will be using on my actual Cricut machine. Now you can see here that we've got our hippopotamus, and I can actually change the color. I know some people say it's a little hard to see when it's black, so let me make him like bright blue. That way you can see him better. It does not matter what color you have him on your screen. It only matters what color HTV you place on your mat. It will cut any color. It doesn't matter. The Cricut doesn't know what color you put into the machine. So now that I've got my little hippo here, which I'm happy with, I think he looks good, I'm ready to hit continue. I'm going to click continue in that lower right hand corner, and it's going to connect to my Cricut machine. Now, if you only have one machine, it'll connect a lot quicker, but I have multiple, so I need to select the machine that I want it to connect to. I'm going to be using my Maker for this, but these instructions are the same across all the machines. Nothing changes. We're going to be cutting this with Caesar Easy Weed, and Caesar Easy Weed cuts on the everyday iron-on setting. I am going to link below a video that talks about doing test cuts, because if you're brand new to Cricut, I would highly recommend you do some test cutting before you really start jumping into larger projects. Test cutting is very simple. You just cut a tiny little star to see what cut settings work for the material that you're going to use. Now, I highly recommend staying away from Cricut products like their iron-on, their adhesive vinyl, any of their materials. They're just not of the quality that I would recommend. And I don't think that they look nice on a shirt. I think they look like a sticker just shoved on a shirt. That's why I would highly recommend you stick with Caesar, StarCraft, TechWrap. All of those are great brands, and I'll link them down below. You're also going to get a way better value purchasing the ones like StarCraft and Caesar because their prices are fantastic for the amount that you're getting. But that's beside the point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be using the everyday iron-on setting for this. Now if you for some reason don't see that setting under your base materials, go to Browse All Materials and you can just search for iron, and you'll see that it comes up with all the settings that are for iron-on, and you can find the everyday iron-on setting. Now it's a setting that I think you're going to use a lot, so I would recommend bookmarking it, which you just do by selecting this little tab here, and it'll bookmark your setting. Then you can just select it and hit done. Now you'll notice here it says mirror on. Design Space automatically turns mirror on for iron-on and infusible ink. So what that does is it flips your design so that it's going to print it, or cut it, I should say, the correct direction so that when you place it onto your shirt, it will be the correct way. Now, like I said, we didn't use words in this because I want to give you a really simple project that even if for some reason you forgot to mirror, is still going to come out and you're not going to be sad and disappointed. But just remember that if you have any text or you need the item to face a certain way, you absolutely need to make sure that mirror is on. Now you can leave your pressure at default as long as you've done your cut setting chests. And I'm just going to go over here to show you, it tells you exactly what tools you need to load. Now clamp A will have no tool required, and that clamp is for like the pens, the scoring stylus, and that's going to be the one that's on your left if you're looking at your machine, and it has an A on the front. The clamp on the right is for your blades and your tools. So for this, you're going to be using the fine point blade, which is the blade that comes in your Cricut machine. Now, I will recommend making sure that it's seated correctly if you haven't already, making sure that it's not damaged in any way. Sometimes from the factory, they don't come seated correctly, or they've been shifted in shipping, or sometimes even the little tip on the blade can be broken. So just always double check that before you get started. That way you have a lot less frustration when it comes to cutting, because it's not going to be a pain and you're not going to think you're crazy. Then we're going to go ahead and I'll show you how to load your mat with your HTV, how to load it into the machine. We're going to cut it out. We're going to go over how to weed and how to press. So I'm so excited. Let's go ahead over to the Cricut. We're going to be working with HTV for this, so I'm going to show you a few things that you need to know about this. The first thing that is really important is to know which side of your HTV goes down on your mat. Now, you're going to see a lot of people say shiny side down. And while that's true for this type, it's not true for all of them. So I like to say carrier sheet side down. And you're like, well, how do I know which side is the carrier sheet? What you're going to do is take one of your corners and you're going to peel it back a little bit from the page here, and you're going to see that one side is your vinyl. That's going to be your colored kind of plasticky side, and then this side right here where it's clear and sticky, that is your carrier sheet. So that's how you know which way to put it down onto your mat. You want to do carrier sheet side down. Now, I do recommend for most HTV to use the green standard grip mat, but there are a few that may need to use a different mat. But since this is our first one, we're going to stick with our standard mat, which should work for most of them. Now, you want to make sure you take your plastic off, and you always want to keep your plastic to keep your mat clean when you're not using it. Then you want to load your HTV onto your mat. Now, sometimes doing it this way can be a little difficult. It's a little staticky. It might not stick exactly where you want it to, and you're like, this is getting really frustrating. So let me show you a quick little trick to load your HTV a lot easier. We're going to be using our Cricut machine to help us with this. So you're going to open it up, and you're going to open up the door, and then you just take your mat and have it just stick out just a little bit from under the door. Then you're going to take your HTV, and I want you to line it up with the right corner and the top up here. And then you're just going to press it down onto your mat. Now it's ready to go, ready to be loaded and cut. Now you're going to see a flashing button right here since we've chosen our cut setting. You're going to put your mat into your machine. You want to make sure it goes under the little tabs here, and you are going to press this button while giving a little bit of pressure from the back side of the mat. You don't have to push hard, just hold it steady. Then once the C button here, or yours might look like a little triangle, starts flashing, you can press that. It's going to cut out our design, and I'm going to show you how to weed it. Once it's done cutting, you're going to hit the unload button because it's flashing, and you can take it out of your machine. We're going to close the machine and move it over to the side, and I'm going to show you how to remove this from the mat and weed it. When removing HTV from the mat, I recommend that you flip the mat upside down, and you want to roll your mat back. You don't want to fold it so that it cracks. You just roll it back a little bit, and then you're going to kind of pull your mat back while holding your HTV down and using your hand to kind of push it away. Then you want to make sure that you replace the plastic covering on your mat. Doesn't have to be perfect, just needs to cover the sticky part, and place that wherever you keep your mats. Now we are going to trim this out so that we are going to save some HTV. I try to save as much as I can because you never know when you might need just a little piece of blue. So it is always good to keep your scraps. I'm going to go ahead and get that off. And now we're ready to weed this out. Now I like to start with the outside section. That way it makes it a little easier to know what you're trying to weed with the inside. So start in one of the corners, and you're just going to kind of use your pin pen, your weeding tool, whatever you're using, and pull your vinyl back. And then you're going to pull it around your design. Once it's kind of started, you can just follow it along, and you'll start to see it reveal your image. Now, if it breaks, that's okay. HTV is a little bit more of like a plastic, stretchy material, so it might break when you're pulling it to weed it, and that's totally okay and normal. Just gonna go all the way around here. So we've got the outline of our hippo. Like I said, this just makes it easier to know what parts you're gonna weed. So I would just say go to another part you know for sure has to come out, and you're gonna go ahead and peel that away. So I know that this nose comes out, and I'm just gonna peel that away. Now, like I said, if it rips, that's okay, no big deal. Then you're gonna go to another part that you know needs to come out. So I know that his forehead's gotta come out, and it's gonna leave behind these cute little eyebrows. Now I do have a little strange little piece of HTV here. I'm just gonna get rid of that, a little sliver. And then I'm gonna go to his ears, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna start at that outline so that I know what parts come out, and then I'm just gonna pick off all the pieces that need to come out. So I'm gonna do that all the way around our hippo for all the different parts, and then I'm gonna show you how we place it on the shirt and press this. Before you put your HTV on your shirt, you'll want to press your shirt to press out any wrinkles and any moisture from it. So I just do it once it hits about 250, and you can just put your press down just like you would if you were pressing your shirt, and just let it cycle through the full press. That's going to get out any of those wrinkles, any moisture. This is super important when you go to use HTV on your fabrics. Then go ahead and just take this up, and now look at your nice smooth surface, and then I'm just going to show you if there's any moisture in the shirt. You'll see it kind of around this. Now this is a pressing pillow, and this is something I highly recommend that you have for any kind of heat press. Number one, it protects any surface that you might be pressing on if you're not using a heat press like this, but also it helps raise your image above any of the seams on your shirt, like the side seams, sleeve seams, collar, anything like that. And when you put your shirt on your press, you want to make sure any of these seams are not on your pressing pillow. That's just going to help you get a better press on your HTV design. Now that you have all the parts of your hippo weeded out, we're going to bring in our shirt. I'm just going to use a shirt that I did some tie-dye on this summer because I just thought it would look cool. But here is our shirt. Now I can't quite zoom out all the way, but when you line this up, you want to use the collar of your shirt, and you want to go 3 fingers down from your collar. And then you use the sleeves and the collar to center your design. You can also get all sorts of things like t-shirt rulers and all of that if that is your jam. For me, it's not for me. I don't like them. I like to just use my hands. That looks good. So I've got this lined up. Now this is sticky, so it will stick to the shirt, but you can peel it up if you're not happy. What I do to move it over to my press is I actually fold my shirt up around my design so that it doesn't move, so that I can move it over to my heat press. Now you can use this on any of the heat presses that you have, whether you're using an easy press, whether you're using a clamshell, a swing away, whatever you've got, even a home iron. But this is Caesar Easy Weed, and this presses at 315 degrees for about 15 seconds with a medium firm pressure. Now keep in mind that when you're working with HTV, the HTV itself is what determines the press time, press temperature, and press firmness, plus whether it's a hot or cold peel. You need to go by what your HTV says it is and nothing else. Your HTV manufacturer will tell you the settings, and those are what you go by. Now let's head over to the heat press and get this pressed. Once your heat press is up to temperature and you've got your shirt ready to be pressed, all you simply have to do is press this down, and you're going to do this for about 15 seconds at 315 degrees, and that is a medium to firm pressure, but medium pressure is fine. Once your press is done pressing, go ahead and lift this up, and this is a hot peel product, meaning I can take this carrier sheet off as soon as I'm done pressing. If it's a cold peel product, you need to take this off the press, let it sit to the side and fully cool before you remove the carrier sheet, which is the plastic sheet. And just like that, we have finished our very first HTV project, so congratulations. Now, a couple things I just want to remind you: always mirror HTV when you are making it, as well as making sure that you're following the HTV manufacturer's directions for pressing. That is so important. And I always get a lot of questions on, how do I know I've pressed it right? And you're going to see a lot of people say, oh, you should see the t-shirt pattern through the HTV, and that's not actually true for most HTV. So the way you know that you've pressed it correctly is that you have followed the HTV manufacturer's directions. That's really the only way you're going to know. Now make sure that when you wash this, you wash these with cold water, and I don't recommend putting them in the dryer. You can, but my dryer gets so hot that I don't do it because it has damaged mine. So I would line dry if at all possible. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in those comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.